What's up, everyone? Welcome back. It's Season 5, Episode 1. After the disappointing loss in the playoffs, I would like to formally introduce you to head coach Nathan Cable. He is an absolutely no one, but I believe he's going to have a bright future. Under Coach Cable, we're going to run a West Coast power run offense, which is a little bit of a change from the multiple power run we were running. But our defense is going to stay a base 4-3. So I don't really have to change anything. Our schemes might change, but the players that we need to fit into those schemes isn't going to change. So I can continue building the team the way that I am. Now, one of the big deciding factors of why I wanted to go with the West Coast power run is because by week 3, I see that there are 3 quality quarterbacks, first round talents. And then by about week 5, I narrowed it down to 2. And by about week 8, I finally decided what quarterback I wanted. So since week 8 of last season, I knew which quarterback I wanted. And I was prepared to let them fit into Coach Hedrick's scheme, but with his very poor performance over the last 4 years, I was like, you know what? We're going to have a new head coach. Why not pick a head coach that fits the scheme, or that has a scheme that the quarterback will fit into? So that's why I went with Nathan Cable instead of maybe a more experienced head coach. Just to give you an idea, I know it sounds absolutely idiotic to fire a coach who took a rebuilding team to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. But let me give you some of his stats, okay? He was 32, 31, and 1. So he was barely above a winning coach in the NFL. Of all 3 times that we went to the playoffs, he didn't win a single playoff game, especially last year when we had a stacked team. And, granted, the wins and losses aren't what led to his firing. It was his play calling. If you go back and look at all the past episodes, you'll find a couple times each season that I complained about the play calling. I just was not satisfied with how the team looked compared to how I built the team to look. So after that fiasco in the playoffs, I was like, I've had enough, and decided to move on in a different direction. As far as the offseason goes, nothing really sexy. I brought back Laken Tomlinson and Gabe Jackson, who is our left guard and right guard, respectively, from last year. I would like to draft a rookie left guard and right guard in this draft that maybe can develop behind them and then take over. But those are my only 2 free agent signings. I did offer a contract to a cornerback, but he opted to enter the new season as a free agent rather than signing with me. And it's not that I offered him a bad contract. I mean, he would have been our 4th cornerback on the depth chart, and I still offered him $1 million a year for 5 years. He just felt like he was worth more and would rather collect unemployment than take a contract. There is one other move that I made. Of course, I knew which quarterback I wanted, and I want to make sure I get him. So I traded my 11th pick this year, which was the highest first-round pick we had from this year. Remember, we had 3 first-round picks. I traded our first-round pick next year, and third-year quarterback Dom Matthews, if you remember him. I traded those 2 picks in the quarterback to Pittsburgh, and I got the number 1 overall pick, which obviously I will be using on a quarterback. I tried giving them all 3 of my first-round picks this year. They didn't want it. For whatever reason, they would have rather had just 1 pick this year, 1 of my picks next year, and that quarterback. But hey, to each their own. I got the number 1 overall pick. That's all I cared about, and I still have all of my draft capital for this year. So I mean, if I have a great draft this year, next year's draft doesn't really matter because I don't expect to be picking that high anyway, and we're not going to be in a position to pick up any extra draft picks. So, um, this is a big year for us. So, anyway, with all that said, I think it's time to start the draft.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
And with our number 1 overall pick, I will be taking Tyler Schwartz. Now, it was I did say I had 3 quarterbacks in mind. By about week 5, I narrowed it down to these 2. And actually, Cody McDougald was my top pick. But as I started to think about it, I really got intrigued by Tyler Schwartz. And when I watched the draft stories, there was always positive things going on about him in the draft stories. So Tyler Schwartz is going to be the number 1 overall pick and our franchise quarterback.
The Saints are now on the clock.
All right, now it says fifth overall talent and that we reached. I don't think we reached. We got exactly what we needed. We got a quality player. In fact, at 75 overall, he's the best quarterback that we've had during this entire series.
Are now on the clock.
And he has a hidden talent, which likely means he's going to be some kind of star, superstar, maybe even X Factor. And I'm going to get rid of this hold to reorder. That's bugs. That's a lot of them in this Madden game. Okay, so Giants drafted a wide receiver who ended up being a 75 overall as well, so good pick by them. Now we do have 2 more picks in this first round, but they're all later. So I have the 24th, I think it was the 27th overall pick.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Okay, left tackle goes off the board. Pretty decent left tackle too.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Good right tackle there too. So some decent offensive linemen coming off the board early that may have good futures. I want to go back to my pick.
The Packers are now on the clock.
With that quarterback, our team, I mean, maybe the offensive line could be better, and I plan on addressing that. We could use a better backup a better backup middle linebacker. We could use a better cornerback for depth.
Now on the clock.
And yeah, we could definitely use a better wide receiver, especially a star one, because we don't really have one yet. And we do have 2. Oh, by the way, there's a quarterback that went off the board to Green Bay, 73 overall. I don't think that was the guy. McDougald was the one that I was kind of back and forth with. So we'll have to keep an eye out for where McDougald goes and what his overall is. But anyway, our wide receivers are young and good, so they're developing into quality wide receivers. Now, I don't have that star, like the big name wide receiver that you just expect to be a Pro Bowler every year. But I have quality wide receivers, so maybe I could use an upgrade there, but it's not on the top of the list of things to do, especially since when I play Madden, I love protecting my cap because I hate getting into a situation where I build up this awesome team and all of a sudden I have to trade people away because I can't afford them. So, maybe I don't have absolute stars at the sexy positions like wide receiver, but doing so and just having quality guys keeps my cap low so that I can keep all of the guys that I bring into the system and build up. So now that we have most of our holes filled and we're done with the essentially rebuilding the team, getting our quarterback here, protecting the cap and making sure that we can keep the guys that we brought in is the goal moving forward. And if we do that, we're going to be playoff and championship contenders for a long
The
time.
Patriots are now on the clock.
And there went a good right guard. Not sure what kind of guard he was, whether it's agile, power, or pass blocking. You know, obviously, we're in a power scheme, so we want power linemen.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
That's a good left outer linebacker there for a rookie. It's actually better than our left outer linebacker. And the Dolphins
The
choose
Lions are now on the clock.
pretty good right guard. You know, if we remember from past drafts, the best players in a draft are around 77, maybe a 78. But if you get anybody, you know, and a 76 is really good as well. If you get anybody that's a 73 to a 75, then you hit on your draft pick. You should be happy with it. If you get anything above that, then you know you got a great pick. A 76 wide receiver, that's pretty good. I think the guy we drafted last year was a 77. You know, feel free to go back, watch that, and comment on this one if I'm wrong. But I think he was a 77 when we drafted him. So, you know, hopefully he has a good future moving forward.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
I haven't really seen any misses. We did see a couple guys that were 70s, which, and given that they were drafted that high in the first round, you know, you can consider that a miss at that point. But still, a 70s, a quality player, or a quality rookie.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Quality NFL players in Madden this year are, you know, you want them to be at least a 75 if they're going to be a starter. You know, and that's still a position that you can improve on. But if you have a 75 overall as a starter, that's not bad.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
That was a good middle linebacker. There's a couple of them in this draft too. You see our pick is coming up. I'm looking for if I can get a really good lineman that's going to be able to fill in for years, because I'm tired of bringing Tomlinson and Jackson back.
Are now on the clock.
And I really would like a good second middle linebacker. We're not going to get a wide receiver that's better than what we have from the draft. Something like that's going to have to come either from free agency or a trade or just developing the wide receivers that we have.
Bears are now on the clock.
And strangely enough, I haven't seen. I think it was McDougal. I haven't seen him come off the board yet. I'm not going to draft him. You know, I'm satisfied with what we got, but I'm still curious to see what his overall is.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
You know, and then aside from maybe better lineman or middle linebacker, at that point, we're at the point now where we can just choose best available. Because even if it's someone that we can't use, we can still use them as trade bait to go get something else, or you know, draft picks later, or you know, maybe they take over for someone that I can't afford to re-sign. But we are on the clock. I didn't really set up my draft board this year. I mean, we can take a look at it. You know, as you can see, I threw a few people on here, and it was mainly people that were rated higher than where they're projected to go. You know, it's like this third round guy who's a first round talent. That's pretty much all the draft board things that I've done this year. I know in the past I do a pretty extensive draft board, but I don't really feel the need to do that this year. Okay, now that's an agile blocker. He could be good for us, though. I only have about a minute left, so let's take a quick look. Okay, not drafting any left tackles this year. This left guard's the only one. You know, I think I'm just going to take the left guard. I know I could probably get a better value pick from this first round pick, but this is the only lineman that looks worth taking in this draft, so I'm going to go ahead and take him. We'll just have to develop him into a power back. At least he has the strength to be one.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Okay, so 70 overall. That's not terrible. You know, again, I said we weren't going to get the best value out of this pick, but I'm pretty satisfied with this pick still. I wish his development trait was a little bit better, but he'll still develop into
The Cardinals are
um,
now on the clock.
a quality guy. Maybe not a stud, but a quality guy. We're seeing a lot of players being selected that are dipping down into those high 60s now, though, so maybe a 70 wasn't that bad. And I have a
Oklahoma
feeling,
City Nighthawks are
I
now
mean,
on
he's,
the
he's
clock.
pretty good, 76 this late. I have a feeling that some of the guys that are going to be higher overalls are going to be those guys that I identified later in the draft. Let's see what's available here. Okay, so I could go with defensive tackle. We don't really need one, but he is a good one. You know, and if I'm being honest, I'm going to choose the guy that has the first round talent grade over a guy that has a second round talent. Take a look at this guy real quick. Okay, he's second in strength. He's pretty slow though. This guy is faster but weaker. This guy would probably make a pretty decent rushing linebacker as well. But we'll get him later, I think. I'm going to go with one of those right out of linebackers. I'm going to go with Jamal Amos. See, he's a late first round. Oh, he's early. Okay. I got to trust my scouts. They say he's an early first round talent. So even though I think Jamal Amos might be better, I'm going to trust my scouts and go with Darrell Hopkins.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Okay, so 74 overall, pretty decent. Got the ninth best guy in the draft this late in the draft, so it's not bad. He's slow. That was one of my big knocks against him. Is that we need our linebackers to be able to cover a lot of field. He's really bad in zone coverage, which is another downer because we ask our linebackers to drop into coverage sometimes too. So, he's an okay run stopper. That's about all we're getting is an okay run stopper.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Ah, Browns, yeah. For all you Steeler fans, sorry. Oh, and by the way,
Ravens are now on the
the
clock.
Ravens lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl by 1. So that tells you just how bad that playoff loss was. We could have blown these guys out with proper play calling, and then they ended up going and almost winning the Super Bowl. So that tells you we have a team that could have won the Super Bowl if we had better play calling. And case in point why our head coach got fired. Which, by the way, he's coaching the Saints now, so yeah. All right, now that
The
we're
Steelers are now on the
getting
clock.
into the second round, did McDougal? Oh, he didn't. I'm just going to advance picks until McDougal gets picked.
The Saints are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock.
Okay, there's Jamal Amos. He ended up being a 72 overall, so he's 2 points less. We don't know what his development trait was or his stats, but overall wise, we did get the better guy. But he's not that far off that I wouldn't have been disappointed getting him.
The Rams are now on the clock.
And
The Jets
McDougal
are
is
now on the clock.
still on the board.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
I mean, if we don't need a quarterback, but if he falls to 2,
The Broncos are now on the
I
clock.
gotta seriously think about
The
taking him.
Patriots are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The
Still
Bills
available.
are now on the clock.
Oh no, guys.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Oh no, guys.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the
Oh.
clock.
He's still available. I know I can get more value out of this pick than picking a guy that I know is going to be our backup quarterback. But that's a security blanket. You know, like right now we have Kirk Cousins as our backup quarterback, but he's in a pretty steep decline right now. This guy would be a cheap backup quarterback for the next 4 years, and that fourth year on the trade deadline, I could trade him and get something for him. You know, and that's that whole concept of draft the best available. And darn it. I pick again in like 2 picks, so, you know, I got to take him. I've got to take this guy and just, he's either draft capital or a quality backup for us. So remember, our starting quarterback that we drafted was a 75. I was back and forth between these two. Let's see if I was right that this guy could have been a quality guy for us.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Okay, so he's a 73. Doesn't have the developmental trait. So I did make the right pick that first round. Again, I could have got probably another player that maybe might have actually seen the field for us or been more impactful. But this guy fell to us at the 56th, and he was the 20th overall talent. So we got value. We got a quality backup. In fact, our backup quarterback is now as good as the best quarterbacks we've had in the past. So now not only are we solid at quarterback, maybe not solid, we got to develop our main guy. But when this guy is when it's time for him to move on, and I'm assuming I'm not going to be able to afford to re-sign him because he's going to want a lot of money. I don't like paying my backups a lot of money. But when that time comes, at that trade deadline, I can get something for this guy. I promise you that. So, even though I could have got someone better or someone I could have used, this was still the best pick I could have made. All right, let's go ahead and go to our next pick. Oh, I thought I had another pick the second round. All right, well, 14th pick in the third round. Still going to be some quality guys available.
Are now on the clock.
And this is where we go to that draft board to see, okay, this is probably the highest guy on the board. I did want a middle linebacker, so we're going to go ahead and take him.
Are now on the clock.
Okay, so he's a 70 overall. We got good value for him. He doesn't fill in that second middle linebacker that I would have wanted. There was like 3 guys that went earlier that would have. This guy's going to end up being our third middle linebacker. But still a quality pick.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
Looks like we had a few third-round picks. Are there any second-round quality players left? Or are we dropping down into the third-round quality? You know, I don't know why I didn't go to Scouted. I'm sorry. I do... Oh, there we go. There's a first-round guy. I don't know why I didn't do him on my draft board. I'm going to tag this guy for later. I might pick him up in the 7th round or so. That's one of those hidden gems. He's supposed to go undrafted, but he's a 4th-round talent. All right, now let's look at the draft board here. I'm going to bump up these guys that are first-round talents. I have absolutely no need for a quarterback at all, so he's off the board. Okay. feel like this guy's going to be a decent depth wide receiver. So we're going to take a look at him later. But we got to focus on these first round talents. So a left end speed rusher. He's got the fastest speed, but for, a defensive end, I guess when they're chasing down maybe a runner, that helps. But for a speed rusher getting to the quarterback, 0.3 seconds isn't going to make that big of a difference. He does have a good 20-yard shuttle, which I believe is acceleration. So he's got a good quick first step. Not very strong though, but you're going to see that most speed rushers aren't. That's probably why he's dropped. How about the left outer linebacker? Okay, so probably about average speed for a linebacker. He can jump high. He's agile from that 3-cone drill. Not very strong. And he's more of a speed rusher guy. So honestly, this linebacker and the defensive end are pretty much the same player, except this guy can jump higher. I have a feeling they can probably both play either position. This guy's stronger, and quicker, and younger, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and go with this guy. I don't know where I'm going to use him, but in the third round, getting a guy that's a first-round talent, you can't complain too much.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
All right, our turn again. Next pick is in the 4th round. And mind you, I did have my eyes on this guy here, who's probably not going to be available when we pick again. So I need to decide, do I want a wide receiver that I kind of need a wide receiver, or do I want a linebacker that I don't need at all? Actually, he's a 5th-round talent, so he might be available later. Let's go ahead and roll the dice, take the wide receiver. He's someone that adds depth that we need. I only have 4 active wide receivers, and one of those is Jamal Agnew, which you can't really call a wide receiver. He's just a kick returner for us, so Max Drayton's going to be our pick here.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Okay, 68 overall. Not great. He'll probably never see the field, or at least I hope he doesn't ever see the field. But he's still better than Jamal Agnew.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
All right. Is that one guy still available? He is. So, got to take him. Trust the scouts.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Ooh. We might have gotten a gem here. 71 overall is not bad, especially for where we picked him, 4th round. But that development trait is going to be pretty good. So, it's a nice pick there.
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
Okay. I still have this pick. I have a 5th-round pick. Okay, so after this pick, we have our picks for the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. And honestly, I want all 3 of these guys. I'm hoping this guy's still available, even though he's a 3rd-round talent. He's projected for the 7th round. Sometimes the computer catches on to that, sometimes they don't. But I'm just going to go down the list here. I'll take Tony, then Dominique, and then Javier.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Although I guess I should evaluate Javier. There might be some others that we can pick up
The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now
before
on
we
the clock.
pick him up that are better. Let's go ahead and get this guy.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Okay, so now we
Oklahoma City Nighthawks
still have
are
2
now on the
picks.
clock.
I'm pretty sure I have faith he'll be on the board when we pick again. But let's see if there's anybody here that has... Oh, no. There's a 5th-round talent guy, but no. Maybe we can get him in the 7th round. We'll go ahead and pick up Javier.
The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Oklahoma City Nighthawks are now on the clock.
Okay, so I'm going to just trade this pick away. There's no need to pick anyone here, especially since I don't really have an idea who might be worth picking. And the guys that I've scouted are not worth picking. So we'll just take the best offer, and that looks like the Colts 6th-round pick next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a trade.
Well, the back end of our draft was a lot of 68 overall guys, which I don't think we've had many guys under 70s in our past drafts. Now, with that said, also in our past drafts, I traded away a lot of the later picks for the higher picks. So you can either call this our worst draft because we had lower overall players, or our best drafts because we got exactly what we needed to move this franchise forward. I can't be mad about the guys that we got, especially since most of them will be able to fit in and probably see some time on the field. Hopefully, McDougal doesn't, because if he does, that means either Schwartz got hurt or he's just not working out. I would like to see Sharper develop so that we can get him on the field. Hopkins is going to be a backup for a little while. He might emerge into a decent linebacker for us. Hahn, I would have liked to see him be better. I need someone in that mid-70s range to be that second middle linebacker. And the rest of these guys are just depth guys, and we got some pretty good value for depth guys. We probably have more linebackers than we need. So we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but we'll see where they fit in. Yeah, anyway, I've talked a lot this draft, so I'm not going to go through the whole comparing them to everyone else or looking up other stats. I'm excited for this coming season because we've got a new coach that hopefully is going to call plays better, new offensive scheme, and that offensive scheme fits our new quarterback. And for the first time in this series, we have a quarterback that is going to be a franchise quarterback for us. Everything about him screamed, you can't miss this guy. So moving forward, hopefully for the next 15, 20 years, this is our guy. Get used to his name, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for opening day. You can't miss the rookie's first start, right? All right, have a good one.